Imagine walking into one of the most magnificent cathedrals in Rome, the air filled with history, art, and tradition. Tourists whisper in awe as the golden light reflects off centuries-old frescoes. Suddenly, a choir begins to sing. Not any choir, but a group of young Filipinos whose voices pierce the silence with a purity that leaves everyone frozen. Their Christmas carol is about to do something no one expected, touch hearts and silence even the most hardened critics. Stay with us till the end, because this story is more than music, it's a miracle in song. It was a crisp December morning when the Filipino choir arrived in Rome, carrying nothing but their instruments, sheet music, and a passion for singing that had defined their lives. They had traveled thousands of miles, not seeking fame or fortune, but the chance to share the joy of Christmas through their voices. Each member, carefully selected from local parishes in the Philippines, had spent months rehearsing, perfecting every note. The cathedral doors opened slowly, welcoming them into a space that had hosted the greatest voices of history, but this time, a new sound was about to leave its mark. As they lined up in front of the cathedral's majestic altar, the choir director raised her hand, signaling everyone to prepare. Tourists, priests, and locals paused mid-step, sensing something special in the air. There was a quiet tension, an anticipation that grew heavier by the second. The first notes did not immediately break the silence. Instead, they floated gently, hesitant, like a whisper that beckoned you to lean closer. Rome, a city accustomed to art, music, and grandeur, was about to witness something it had never experienced before. The raw, soul-stirring power of Filipino voices united in harmony. The first song they sang was a traditional Filipino Christmas carol, its melody unfamiliar yet hauntingly beautiful. Children in the audience clutched their parents' hands, some blinking rapidly to hold back tears. Even the most stoic onlookers found themselves drawn in, caught between disbelief and awe. The harmony was so precise, so emotional, that it felt like the choir was not just performing but sharing pieces of their hearts. Each note was a story of resilience, faith, and joy, carried thousands of miles from their homeland to the sacred heart of Rome. It wasn't long before the murmurs stopped entirely. Every sound, from the distant footsteps of tourists to the creaking of the old cathedral benches, vanished. All eyes were fixed on the choir. Their voices soared and dipped, echoing through the grand nave and wrapping around the ornate columns like a comforting embrace. Some audience members closed their eyes, letting the music wash over them. Others simply sat in stunned silence, unable to move, as if the carol itself had cast a spell that held time and place. Behind the choir, the altar gleamed under candlelight. The golden statues and frescoes seemed to lean forward, listening too. Even the air felt different, charged with something intangible, a mixture of reverence and wonder. The Filipino choir had a unique gift. They sang not just with skill, but with heart. Every note carried decades of cultural heritage, stories of family, and the warmth of home during the Christmas season. In a city where art and music were everywhere, their voices cut through in a way that was both unexpected and unforgettable. As the carol continued, the choir's confidence grew. Their young faces radiated joy and humility simultaneously. They weren't performing to impress, they were performing to connect. And connect they did. Visitors from all over the world felt their emotions, whether it was nostalgia for a loved one, the hope of a new beginning, or simply the joy of the season. Even seasoned musicians in the audience were visibly moved, whispering to each other about the technique, but more importantly, the emotion that made every note seem alive. Outside the cathedral, a gentle snowfall began, dusting the cobblestones of Rome. Inside, the choir's voices mingled with the quiet rhythm of falling snow against stained glass. It was cinematic, almost surreal. For a moment, it seemed as if the city itself had paused to listen. Cameras clicked discreetly, but no one wanted to break the spell. The Filipino singers were ordinary people, but their music made them extraordinary. Their humility, discipline, and undeniable talent were painting a memory in every listener's heart, a memory that would linger long after the final note faded. One elderly man, a lifelong resident of Rome, whispered to his companion, "I have heard choirs all my life, but I have never felt anything like this." His voice cracked with emotion, revealing the depth of the experience. It wasn't just music, it was storytelling. Each phrase of the carol carried echoes of laughter, sorrow, and unwavering hope. In that moment, the boundaries of culture, language, and distance melted away. The Filipino choir had done more than perform, they had reminded everyone present of the universal language of the human spirit. The director of the choir, a woman with decades of experience in music education, stood at the front, guiding her young singers with subtle gestures. She understood that this was more than a performance, it was a mission. Years of preparation, countless rehearsals in sweltering Filipino heat, and relentless dedication had led to this moment. Watching the children sing with confidence and grace, she felt a swell of pride. Every hard-earned practice session, every sacrifice made by the families of the singers, was being validated in a way that no awards or accolades could ever match. Slowly, the choir transitioned into a more modern carol, blending traditional Filipino rhythms with familiar Christmas melodies. The audience responded with quiet murmurs of delight, some tapping their feet to the intricate beats. The juxtaposition of the old and the new created a mesmerizing effect, showing that Christmas music could evolve without losing its soul. Each singer's voice was distinct, yet together they formed a single, harmonious wave that filled the cathedral with life. In this moment, the Filipino choir was not just performing, they were bridging cultures and generations with music. Among the crowd were tourists from the Philippines, who were visibly moved to see their country's culture celebrated abroad. They clutched each other's hands and whispered in Tagalog, overcome with pride. For them, it was a validation of their homeland's talent and spirit, often underappreciated in global contexts. The choir's performance wasn't just entertainment, it was cultural diplomacy, a heartfelt gift from one country to the world. And the world was listening, captivated by the voices of children and young adults who sang as if their lives depended on it. The cathedral's acoustics enhanced every note. Every trill, every crescendo, resonated through the vaulted ceilings, creating a natural symphony that seemed almost supernatural. Some audience members found themselves holding back tears, unable to fully comprehend the beauty before them. Photographers captured the moments discreetly, but no photo could truly encapsulate the energy, the emotion, or the reverence in the room. The Filipino choir had achieved something rare. They had created an experience that was felt, not just heard. One young singer, barely 16, took a solo during the carol's climax. Her voice was clear and unwavering, carrying a purity that left the audience breathless. Every note seemed to hang in the air, refusing to dissipate until fully absorbed by every listener. Even seasoned musicians in the crowd exchanged knowing glances, acknowledging the rare talent on display. This was more than technical skill, it was emotional storytelling, a lesson in vulnerability, courage, and authenticity that transcended age, nationality, and language. The choir then performed a rendition of a classic Western carol, but with subtle Filipino influences, delicate harmonies, intricate rhythms, and a warmth that was unmistakable. The fusion created an entirely new experience, one that honored tradition while introducing a fresh perspective. Rome, a city that had witnessed centuries of musical innovation, was now experiencing the unique artistry of Filipino voices. The audience, once quiet and reserved, now allowed themselves to be fully immersed, feeling every note in a deeply personal way. Some visitors took a step back, realizing they had been holding their breath. The performance was not just beautiful, it was transformative. Time seemed suspended, and the usual chatter of tourists and locals was replaced by a shared silence that spoke volumes. In this shared moment, the Filipino choir had created a sense of unity, reminding everyone that despite differences, music could connect souls. It was a living testament to the power of art and the resilience of human spirit expressed through song. Meanwhile, priests and religious officials watched from the side with awe. Cathedrals like this had hosted countless performances, but few had elicited such a visceral reaction. They whispered among themselves, acknowledging the rare combination of discipline, talent, and heart that the choir exhibited. These were young voices, yet their performance carried a wisdom that transcended their years. In their singing, they had captured something divine, an essence that made even the most skeptical pause and reflect on the meaning of Christmas and the miracle of music. The choir's repertoire included songs about hope, unity, and love, themes that resonated deeply with the audience. Each carol was carefully chosen to convey not just melody, but meaning. The performers understood that music was more than entertainment. It was a vessel for emotion, for storytelling, for shared human experience. Their voices created a bridge between continents, connecting the Philippines to Italy, Asia to Europe, hearts to hearts. Every note was intentional, every harmony purposeful, and every pause pregnant with anticipation. As the performance continued, the audience began to record discreetly on their phones, wanting to capture the memory, but even digital screens could not do justice to the experience. The atmosphere was electric yet reverent, alive with the energy of shared admiration. Some closed their eyes, letting the music speak directly to their souls. Tears were visible on several faces, unashamedly expressing the emotions stirred by this extraordinary display of talent. In these moments, the Filipino choir had done what great artists do. They made the invisible visible, the intangible felt. One young boy in the audience whispered to his father, "I want to sing like them one day." His eyes sparkled with inspiration, proof that the choir's performance was planting seeds far beyond the cathedral walls. This was the essence of true artistry. It inspires others to dream, to aspire, to believe in their own potential. The choir had not just performed, they had ignited passion, hope, and a sense of possibility in the hearts of everyone present. It was a ripple effect, one note at a time. The choir's director motioned subtly, signaling a gentle shift in tempo. The next carol was a traditional Filipino piece about family and togetherness during the holidays. The voices swelled in harmony, painting vivid images of home, warmth, and celebration. For many in the audience, this was more than music. It was a reminder of their own families, their own traditions. Some felt a pang of nostalgia, imagining loved ones far away. The choir had that rare ability to make distant memories feel immediate, connecting everyone through the universal themes of love and togetherness. A group of tourists from Spain leaned toward each other, speaking in hushed tones. They marveled not just at the technical precision, but at the emotion conveyed through every note. "It's like the choir is speaking directly to your heart," one whispered. Across the room, others nodded in agreement, some wiping tears discreetly. It became clear this was not just a performance for local or Filipino audiences, it was an experience for all of humanity. Music, in its purest form, had broken barriers, united strangers, and created a moment none would soon forget. The choir paused briefly between songs, allowing the resonance of their voices to linger. Silence returned, heavier than before, filled with reflection and awe. Audience members exchanged glances, some laughing quietly at their shared vulnerability, others still holding back tears. For the performers, the pause was an opportunity to breathe, to prepare for the next piece. But even in that quiet, the energy of their music continued to radiate, leaving an invisible trail that touched every listener. Rome, a city accustomed to grandeur, had never experienced a silence quite like this. Suddenly, the youngest member of the choir stepped forward for a solo. Her voice, delicate yet fearless, carried the melody effortlessly through the cathedral. Every note seemed to illuminate the faces of those listening, as if the music itself were a living entity. The audience leaned in, collectively holding their breath, unwilling to disturb the moment. It was impossible not to be captivated. Here was a reminder that age does not limit talent, that even the youngest voices can move mountains, or in this case, the hearts of an entire city. Meanwhile, photographers discreetly captured moments of pure emotion, a grandmother wiping a tear, a child staring wide-eyed, a couple holding hands tightly. These candid shots revealed the impact of the choir in a way words could not. Each expression told a story, confirming that the music was doing more than entertaining, it was touching souls. The Filipino choir, ordinary young people with extraordinary dedication, had achieved something that transcended culture, geography, and language. They had created a shared human experience, immortalized in the hearts of those lucky enough to witness it. The choir then transitioned to a medley combining multiple carols. The intricate arrangement showcased not only their vocal range, but their ability to blend cultures seamlessly. Filipino rhythms intertwined with Western classics, creating a sound that was both familiar and refreshingly new. The audience responded with quiet gasps of admiration, captivated by the skill and heart poured into every measure. In that cathedral, surrounded by centuries of history, the Filipino choir was proving that music could innovate while still honoring tradition, a lesson that resonated with young and old alike. Outside, tourists paused to listen through the massive cathedral doors, drawn by the music. Even passers-by, unaware of the choir's presence, stopped to marvel at the voices carrying through the streets. It was a ripple effect, proof of the choir's ability to reach beyond the walls of the cathedral and touch the city itself. Rome, a city celebrated for its art and history, was now witness to the living, breathing artistry of Filipino youth. Their music had become a bridge, connecting not just continents but generations, weaving together past, present, and future in a tapestry of sound. One priest, moved to tears, whispered softly, "I have heard many choirs, but this is divine." Others nodded in solemn agreement. The Filipino choir had created a rare moment where technical mastery met emotional depth. It was a performance that required both discipline and vulnerability, a delicate balance that they executed flawlessly. And yet, there was an innocence to their presentation, a humility that made the music even more powerful. The audience wasn't just listening, they were feeling, participating in the art through emotion and empathy. As the choir prepared for their final piece, the anticipation in the cathedral was palpable. Every eye was fixed, every heart open, ready to receive the gift about to be given. The young singers took a deep breath and began a hauntingly beautiful carol about hope, love, and peace. The harmonies were exquisite, weaving a tapestry of sound that seemed to float on air. This final performance was not meant to impress, it was meant to transform. And transform it did, leaving a lasting imprint on everyone fortunate enough to hear it. The carol reached its climax, voices blending in perfect unity. Some audience members closed their eyes, others leaned on each other, and a few bowed their heads in silent reverence. The choir had achieved something extraordinary. They had moved an entire room, entire city, with nothing but the power of song. The final note lingered, echoing through the vaulted ceilings, before gently fading into silence. And in that silence, the impact of the performance was felt even more deeply, as if Rome itself were holding its breath in awe. When the applause finally erupted, it was thunderous yet sincere, a collective outpouring of gratitude and admiration. Standing ovations filled the cathedral, and the choir, humble and radiant, bowed deeply. There were tears, smiles, and embraces among the audience, a testament to the raw, human impact of what they had just witnessed. The Filipino choir had done more than sing. They had reminded everyone that art, passion, and dedication can create moments of pure magic, moments that resonate long after the last note has been sung. After the performance, many visitors approached the choir, eager to share their appreciation. Some spoke in broken Tagalog, others in halting English, but the sentiment was clear. Their music had touched lives. Autographs and photos were exchanged, but the real reward for the choir was intangible, the joy of knowing they had moved hearts across continents. For a group of young Filipinos, this wasn't just a performance. It was a message to the world. Talent, humility, and heart can transcend boundaries, leaving a legacy far greater than applause or recognition. The choir members, exhausted but elated, embraced one another backstage. They had given everything they had, and the experience had changed them as much as it had changed their audience. Tears of joy streamed down their faces, a reflection of the profound connection forged between performers and listeners. Their journey, from small towns and parishes in the Philippines to the heart of Rome, had been arduous, but the reward was clear. They had made a mark, not on paper or in fame, but in the hearts of thousands. As the night fell over Rome, the story of the Filipino choir began to spread. Social media posts, videos, and news articles captured the performance, sharing the magic with audiences worldwide. People from all corners of the globe marveled at the choir's discipline, passion, and ability to move emotions through song. It was no longer just a local event, it had become a global phenomenon. And at the heart of it all were ordinary young people from the Philippines, whose voices reminded the world of the power of music, culture, and human connection. For many in the audience, this experience became a turning point. Some left the cathedral inspired to pursue their own artistic dreams. Others felt compelled to reconnect with family, friends, or their own cultural roots. The performance was more than entertainment, it was transformative. And this transformation wasn't limited to those present in Rome. Videos of the performance circulated online, reaching thousands, then millions, proving that the Filipino choir's music had a universal resonance, touching hearts across continents and cultures alike. Backstage, the director reflected on the journey. She remembered the countless hours of rehearsals, the challenges of funding travel, and the emotional roller coaster of preparing young singers for such a monumental stage. Yet, in that moment, all struggles melted away. The choir's success wasn't just about perfect notes, it was about authenticity, heart, and courage. They had shared something profoundly human, something timeless, and something that would forever remain a testament to the resilience and spirit of Filipino culture. Families of the choir members celebrated quietly, feeling pride beyond words. Their children had performed on one of the world's most iconic stages, touching the lives of thousands with nothing but their talent and heart. It was a moment of validation, yes, but also a reminder that dedication, passion, and faith can open doors to unimaginable experiences. The impact of this performance would ripple through generations, inspiring not only future musicians but anyone willing to pursue their dreams with courage and humility. Rome, a city steeped in centuries of history and tradition, had been momentarily transformed by something fresh and unexpected. A Filipino choir, with nothing but their voices and hearts, had captured attention, silenced critics, and moved even the most stoic of observers to tears. The city would continue to thrive with art, music, and culture, but for those present that day, a new benchmark had been set, a standard of emotional authenticity, humility, and passion that transcended even the grandeur of Rome itself. As the choir exited the cathedral, the crowd followed them with applause and cheers. The memory of their performance lingered in the hearts of everyone present. Tourists, locals, clergy, and fellow musicians alike carried with them the echo of those voices, a reminder of the power of human expression and the magic that occurs when talent meets heart. For the Filipino choir, it was not just a performance, it was a legacy, a story that would be told and retold, inspiring countless others to pursue their passions with love, dedication, and courage. And so Rome was silent, not in emptiness, but in awe. A city that had witnessed centuries of music, art, and history paused to listen to the voices of young Filipinos carried across oceans and culture, leaving a mark that would never fade. Their Christmas carol was more than a song. It was a reminder that music has the power to heal, inspire, and unite. It was a story of hope, humility, and human connection. A story that will continue to resonate in hearts long after the echoes of their voices have faded. Thanks for watching.